get to hear some of the things that I teach your students prior to testing. This week, I am meeting with my third graders and going over with them ways that they can prepare themselves more like physically the nights before the test. And also, I'm also letting them know that this guidance class that they have with me is going to be our last together, which is not being met well because I will not be at Honey Island for the month of May. I am finishing up my dissertation for my doctorate, and so I'm going to take the month of May off so that I can get that research done, so that I can get that schooling over with. So I will be back in August, though, if you have kiddos coming back through. Thank you. So have no fear. At least 4 more years, they'll get to keep me here because my baby is going to North Shore next year. I did have one more mom who did not put her student's name in the chat box. So if you can do that, I'm just going to say your initials are SM. So if you can let me know who your baby is so that I can make sure that he or she gets a little treat from me for your attendance. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. And I'm just thinking, do I have, yeah, there it is. Okay. This is just a PowerPoint that I created so that you could see, there we go, so that you can see the information that I'm talking about on the screen here. So I'm going to actually give you information that I don't give the students because it's really stuff they don't want to know. So I'm going to provide an overview of scoring for the LEAP, how they score your child's tests, information on what the test looks like, what the days of testing look like. And then I will go ahead and also talk about what you can be doing to help your student prepare to do their best. All right. Oh, no, too far. All right, so first of all, there are 5 levels of scoring. Your student will either score advanced, mastery, basic, approaching basic, and unsatisfactory. We hope not either of the last 2, obviously. And you can see here what it says about those levels, right? So if your student scores advanced, that means that they are ready to enter college and career, and they are well prepared for the next level of studies in their content area. Mastery means that they, or actually I should say advanced is they're exceeding, right? Mastery means that they've met that level of expectation to be ready for college and career. Basic means that they have nearly met it. They're almost there. They're not quite where we want them to be. We really do like mastery and advanced. But I kind of think of them as like A, B, C, D, F, right? So if they're basic, that still means that they're pretty average. My child certainly scored in basic before. It's not, unheard of, but that is a sign to Little Oak and beyond that your student needs a bigger push in that particular area where they may have scored basic, so that they can make sure that they try to push them up into mastery or advanced. Then of course, approaching basic means they're not meeting yet that average benchmark that is set. And then unsatisfactory means that they have, that they need extensive support to be prepared for the next level of studies in that content area. Okay, so your ELA test categories, I'm not going to read every slide to you, but basically this explains to you what types of things they're tested in English language arts. You can see, of course, there's a writing component. They read and have to respond to questions. There are, there's questions about vocabulary and, what does the word mean when it's used in this particular story? And they have to, decide which like sort of definition for that term is best. And then of course, grammar and, and the other things that we think of when we think of English knowledge that they expect them to have at this age. Okay, I am gonna give you some more about this. Mathematics test categories, it's basically everything they've learned through this point in third grade, right? So all the things about addition, subtraction, multiplication. Hold on, I can hear somebody talking. Okay, so all of those things are included. You know, money, I think time, you know, being able to solve a problem that has 2 steps. I'm going to show you some example questions so that you can see what they might be looking at. Measurement, so they actually get a ruler for the test, so because I think there's like 1 or 2 questions where they measure something. Science test categories are involved with investigate, evaluate, and reason scientifically. So they're looking at forces in motion, cause and effect, the different animal groups, habitats, weather and environment. These are all things that they've learned really like in the last 2 years of school. Life cycles, I think, and I don't know, did we mention climate already? I was thinking weather and environment, but all of those things are mentioned in the science test categories. And then in social studies, I'm going to be honest and say most of social studies is Louisiana history, which is what they're doing right now in third grade. But I mean, they are expected to kind of know like a little bit about, I think there's some questions on like economics in the sense of like supply and demand. And, you know, again, they've learned everything that they need to know in order to do well on this test. And that is what I'm saying to them this week when I teach in their classrooms, is that they already know what they need to know in order to do well. This is the testing schedule. So on the first day, which is actually Wednesday, right? We test Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. On Wednesday, you can see here that there is an English session and a math session. Each of those is 75 minutes long. Then on day 2, there's, again, it's actually all 3 of the first days. There's an English and then a math session. And you can see there the length of time that they have allowed for that session. It is a timed test. So like you'll notice that on day 2, they test for 75 minutes and then 85 minutes. And then on day 3, they test for 60 minutes and then 75 minutes. That's a long testing time. And one of the things that I've stressed to them, or am stressing to them this week, is about getting an adequate night's rest, because, you know, they don't want to be sitting there thinking how tired they are. And since I do have students who tell me that they wake up in the middle of the night and they game while their parents are asleep, or they watch videos on YouTube because they're allowed to sleep in the room with their electronics. I said, please do not do that, you know, the week of testing, because you really don't want to be sitting there feeling exhausted, because it's boring. I mean, really 75 minutes and 85 minutes is a long time for them to be sitting there and be testing and expect to keep themselves awake on, you know, little to no sleep. Day 4, which is Monday, May 3rd, is the science day. You see there that it's 3 sessions, right? So 75 minutes, 70 minutes, 70 minutes. One of the things that we do for testing week is we actually move the third grade lunches to the third and fourth lunch period. And we bump the second grade up to the first and second. So right now it goes second, third. So basically we're just moving 2 of the lunch groups around. But because we test all the way until lunch, you know, we want to make sure that we don't have students who have not finished, or that we didn't, you know, give adequate time, because we have to give the amount of time that's allotted. So another thing that I'm telling them this week, you know, is to make sure that they eat a healthy breakfast, because it's not going to be like, you know, normally their snack time is at the same time every day. In these 5 days, you know, it's whenever there's a break, right? So it won't necessarily be at the time that they're used to, you know, oh, at 10 o'clock we take snack. Well, it might not be the case, you know, in those 5 days. It might be 10:30, you know, or it might be 9:30, whatever. It won't be 9:30, but you know what I'm saying. So we just want to be careful and make sure that they're eating breakfast, that they're getting adequate rest. Another thing that that I'm telling them this week is, even though they wear their uniforms, they really want to make sure that they're comfortable in their clothing, right? And I jokingly say, you know, we're at the end of the school year. Sometimes you have shorts that are too tight, you know, or that you, or tag, you know, that shirt that's got the tag in it that itches you. You just want to make sure you're not sitting there thinking, you know, how much your clothes itch or how tight your pants are, and that you wished you had worn, you know, the uniform that you like best. And also, you know, to make sure that they have sweatshirts if they're cold normally in class. Most of your students will test in their homeroom unless they have a special testing accommodation, in which case they will test like in a small group room. But you would know if your child had that had testing accommodations, so it won't be something that comes as a surprise to you. Okay, so I've already kind of gone over some of this. So go to bed early enough to get plenty of rest. I tell them to make sure whoever wakes them up sets an alarm so that they're not late. I don't know about you, but I hate crazy screaming mama mornings. I've had them. My days of that are mostly over, since my youngest is in 8th grade and my oldest is not in school anymore. But I hate those mornings, and so I try not to give them to my kids on test day. Eat a balanced breakfast that includes protein. We know that, you know, breakfast meats or peanut butter or eggs or, you know, protein shakes, anything that they can have that has protein in it will stay in their stomach longer and help them to feel full longer. Again, have a calm and peaceful morning, come to school ready to do their best. And, you know, I am going over with them like some stretches that they can do at their desk. Like if they've looked down for too long and their neck kind of feels a little tight, you know, so I'm going over just some stretches that they can do to help them if they start to feel nervous, or if they start to feel, you know, like their necks are tight and stuff. Okay. So I want to share something else with you, and that is the practice test. Okay, so on the Louisiana Department of Education, you can go and see practice tests yourself. I'm going to the LEAP 2025 grade 3 ELA paper practice test. Again, this is accessible by you. This is not on like some special counselor website. It's on the Department of Ed. You can get to it. I just think it's good for you to know what those tests look like, what they're, what's being asked of them. So again, so here's a literary analysis task. It gives the directions that your student would actually get on the day, on test day. And that what they're going to do is they're going to read these 2 texts, right? And again, it won't be these texts, obviously, because this is just a practice, but you will gather information and answer questions about how the illustrations, which your children have learned that word, it means the pictures, right? Help you understand the folk tales so you can write an essay. So then they read each story, right? And here's the picture that they're referring to. And then they answer questions about that story. What is the meaning of trudged as it is used in paragraph 10? Now notice, right, these have paragraphs. The next evening, Coyote trudged up the mountainside again. So they're expected to know what that word means, and then which sentence from the folktale helps the reader understand the meaning of trudged. And they have to decide which of those sentences they feel. Anybody shocked at the level of expectation our children are meeting? Okay, so here's some more questions about that particular one. Then you'll see, so this is the second folk tale that's mentioned in the initial instructions. Again, questions about that one. So which phrase matches the meaning of frigid as it is used in paragraph 6? Why was Fisher given a place to live in the sky? Which sentence supports the answer to part A? Again, that's pretty significant. And then the writing task that comes at the end might look something like this. So refer to these 2 stories, then answer question 7. And then this is the essay, right? Look at the illustrations, write an essay describing how each illustration helps the reader understand the character's actions in each folk tale. Be sure to use evidence from each folk tale to support your response. All right, and so that is, and it does give you the examples of the others, but notice again, there's a writing, for I think every day, because here's day 3. So you can go to the website certainly and look at this. I am also going to show you an example of what the math looks like. So again, grade 3 math practice paper test PDF. These are the directions, right, that your child will get with their teacher. This explains how to complete the answer grids. They actually bubble in the test, right? So each model equals one whole divided into equal parts. Which model shows a fourth? Okay, select the 3 correct answers. So another thing that I've stressed, or that I'm stressing to your students this week, is to make sure that they pay attention to what the directions ask them. And they know, because they've been told, that sometimes it will say, find the 2 correct answers, or select, in this case, select the 3 correct answers. It's just so important that they read the directions. Which 2 statements can be represented by the expression 4 times 8? So again, there's another situation where they're select the 3 correct answers. And y'all, it just makes me crazy when I see that a child has only selected 1. So please, as you're talking to your child about testing, make sure that you remind them that some of the questions have more than 1 right answer, and it will tell them how many bubbles they should be bubbling. This is a written response in the math section. Jeannie has different colored buttons as shown. She wants to determine the total number of buttons she has altogether. And then it asks to explain why Jeannie's reasoning is incorrect. Find the total number of buttons she has altogether. And so they're expected to, in this box, show their work and explain why Jeannie's answer was not correct. So that's just another example. And again, you can scroll down and see there's more examples. I mean, it gives you a really clear picture of what these tests look like. Okay. Again, going down to science, grade 3 science paper practice test. This is just an example, right, of what it might look like. Amazon River dolphins live mostly in fresh water. They live in the Amazon River in South America. Figure 1 shows the life cycle. And then it talks a little more. And then there's a question about it. So a student claims that living in groups helps Amazon River dolphins survive. Which evidence best supports the student's claim? And their answer will come from the illustration on the page. Over time, the number of Amazon River dolphin deaths has decreased. Which prediction best describes what will happen first? I mean, again, they have, and one of the things I've said to them is, y'all, you have been answering questions like this all year long. I've been subbing some in classes due to COVID. And so I know that often there is a written response that looks a lot like these, because their teachers know what they're going to see on this test, and they test them in ways that will make this familiar to them, right? So sometimes a dolphin will be forced out of its group. Predict one effect of a dolphin living without a group. Use evidence to support your response. So again, these are, the evidence can be found in all the things that they've read so far. So that is the science. And again, that's the typical type of written response. Snowstorm. So here's another written response. Explain why this design will cause snow to sit on the roof. I'm just kind of scrolling through. All right, and then I'm going to show you also social studies real quick. So social studies paper practice test. You will notice again that it has a lot to do with Louisiana history, because that is what they have studied a lot this year. And it gives them a couple of different sources, right? See, this is source 2, source 3, 4. And then it asks questions based on source 1, using source 1 and 2, based on source 3 and 4. Okay, and then here again, here's another source. This is for us. The next set of questions, right? Based on source 1 and source 3, source 2 and source 3. Okay, I'm looking for the written response. Let's see. So here's another source 1, 2, 3. This is about volunteering, right? So they answer some questions about that, and then it says describe 2 different ways that volunteering can show good citizenship. Again, this answer is going to come from those 3 sources that we just saw in the with the people's faces on them. Okay, so that's pretty much what the social studies looks like. Again, short written response. Based on the sources and your knowledge of social studies, explain how different groups have changed Louisiana's culture over time. So again, okay, so that is one thing that I wanted you to see. And then I also want you to know to go to, and this is on my PowerPoint, the Parent Guide to the LEAP 2025 report. So when you get your report, which is really not usually until we're already home for summer, you can go to, and there is a link to this also on our Title I page. Okay, you can go to this page and it will teach you how to read your child's scores. Okay, how did my child perform on the LEAP this year? It shows you again. Let's see if I can zoom in so you can see it. Okay, so how many points is your child is from achieving mastery, indicating their readiness for the next level of study. So here you'll see the overall student performance. Your student scored 730 on a scale of 650 to 850 and performed at level 3, which is basic, right? And then it tells you what you need to know. Your student is 20 points from mastery, which isn't really bad, honestly, but you do want them to be in mastery, okay? And then so here's is giving you the level of performance for, the range for that particular test. And then it gives you the subcategory breakdown, which is really important. I know when I've gotten my own children's scores in 4th grade, my youngest scored basic in math. One of the things that I love about Little Oak, and I assume they still do it this way, is when your child has a weakness, they will match your child usually with a teacher who is strong in that weakness. So my child scored basic in 4th grade in math, and he was given a very strong math teacher in 5th grade and has never scored in basic again. He's been mastery or above. But looking at this area for the math, it told me which areas. So you see this particular example, the child would have been weak in vocabulary, right? And maybe not as strong in the written expression category either, or the informational text. So what that means is this child doesn't need help with literary text or knowledge and use of language conventions, right? So this tells the teacher and or the parent, where are my child's weaknesses? What areas do they need help in? It tells you as a parent, you can use these test results to guide a discussion with your child's teacher about additional supports or enrichment that may be needed in class and at home. Some questions that you might ask when discussing the results with your child's teacher. And really, it's going to be with your child's next year teacher, right? Because your child won't be in that teacher's class anymore by the time you get those scores. And then this is another link to family support toolbox. Okay, so, but you will get a paper that looks like this for each test area. So there's an ELA one, a math one, a science one, and a social studies one, so that you can see what areas your child is weak in, what areas they're strong in, why, and that will tell you why maybe they didn't score at the level that, we hope that they score in, and what areas they might need to push in order to score in that area in the next school year. All right, so, and that's pretty much it. If you need to get in touch with me, I will still check my email even when I'm not here in the month of May. Again, if you have children coming here for 2nd or 3rd grade next year, I will be available. Even in the summer, if you got the test scores back and you wanted to talk to me or ask me questions, you could certainly email me. I do check my email very regularly. The office number, my last day of work in a typical school year is the teacher's last day, and then my first day is the teacher's first day. So when everybody comes back, I'm back also. And so definitely, if you are looking to get in touch with me, you can. Let me stop this.